welcome to the first episode of Talkin Music.
Dust in the rise, block out the sun. In the distance, a rider is riding. His face has the look of a man who's on the run. Maybe it's just something he's hiding. Ties up his horse, edge of the town. Walks like he knows where he's going. Passes a note to a girl in a gown. What he's thinking, there's no way of knowing. Looks her in the eye and he looks at the ground. What he's thinking ain't no realizing. Turns on his heels and he heads out of town. Out where the trail meets the horizon. And he damn between the stirrup and the ground. Everything he saw, never to be found, left him damn between the stirrup and the ground. Yes, he's dead. Down between the stirrup and the ground. Everything he's left him down between the stirrup and the ground.
That was Between the Stirrup and the Ground by Siegal. What a great tune, what a great tune.
Amazing.
Anyway, this is Dani, Spampinato, all the way from Germany. Dear friend of mine.
Hi everyone.
I'm Enzo, as you might know me. Everyone watching, hello, hello, I can see you there. Well, we want to introduce you to a special guest that we have today, two really good friends of mine. We have Siegal and Zaitz. Welcome to our first episode. We're so happy you to be here.
Happy to
Hi,
be
hi
invited.
everyone.
Hello.
Ian, what a beautiful
Yeah.
song. What gave you the inspiration to write that?
Well, okay, I have to admit, that's just my wife walking past in the background. I co-wrote the song with an old friend of mine called Keith Harrison, and he came up with the concept at first. I think the first verse or two, and then I took it from there. So the honest answer to that is you'd have to ask him. It was one of those co-writes where I kind of finished the song, but I didn't initialize it. Which is a way I love to work, actually, to take someone else's idea, just even if it's a word or a phrase, and develop their idea for it. That makes sense.
Yeah, Dani, what did you take from that song? What did you like about it? What did you get it from?
It's a beautiful song, and I mean, what touched me is like this concept of being damned. You know, like this man that has something to hide in his size, and or maybe nobody really knows what he has to hide, if he even has something to hide. And there's this damnation, this being cursed of somehow, which is like a trait that is shared in by many artists, you know, like but I feel it, but I don't know, like, how do you feel about like being in the arts, in the arts business? Do you feel it is like,
Me personally, well, it's a blessing
is
and
it a
a
bit like the
curse.
damnation? Is it a bit like of a damnation, like a course a bit?
I mean, I think that would be taking things a bit too far, especially considering my sister, for example, is a nurse, and the situation they and a lot of other people in the UK are striking about at the moment. I'm not going to start complaining about my role as an artist in the world. It's really a privilege, I would say, rather than a curse or feeling damned by it. But you know, it can be a burden sometimes for sure. But one I'm happy to shoulder, to coin even more cliches.
Jake,
and and the,
where are you calling from? From London, right? And Ian, where are you
Yes,
calling from?
from sunny London,
I'm in
South.
I'm in Curacao, which is the former Dutch Antillean islands in the Caribbean. See, I need to really complain about being damned.
It looks
so
great. It looks like it's very hot anyway.
It is. It's lovely.
Hey Jake, what about your massive collection of vinyls and music right behind you?
What about it, Enzo?
You're one of the you're one of the biggest collector of vinyls together with your son that I probably ever met in my life, which is pretty wild. How many records do you have right behind you? And is that all? Do you have more hidden somewhere
No,
else?
these are it is easy behind me. This is we're currently we're broadcasting from my little studio. The
Yeah,
vinyls are somewhere else in another room. Most of them. It's about 10,000 right now, and
Good lord.
wow. What are
I'm
those
gonna trying to
instruments
share.
in the back? There's like a, is
Uh,
it like a sitar? What is it?
it looks like a star. It's a tempura. It's slightly bigger than the sitar, and
Ah,
it plays a role of a drone underneath whatever else is happening. And that is an oud, Egyptian oud, Middle Eastern stuff.
oh,
And
nice.
here we've got a double bass and a guitar that was crafted by a friend of mine who is an aeroplane model maker from an existing body that I found in my parents' basement and a neck that I just had available. And now I often, not very often, but I do use it. It's not an easy guitar to play, but it has a particular sound.
that's amazing. I want to hear that though.
Maybe
Did you
one
have
day.
like the chance to play them? To play them all? Like,
Uh, I love wood players. Um, I can't hack it, mate. It's not. Maybe when I retire in in a couple of years, I'm gonna try and take that on. But
well, it looks pretty complicated, doesn't
you
it?
know, it's not that. It requires some serious work. You know. So and also time. So there, yeah.
Hey guys, what do you think? What's your view on the music industry nowadays? And specifically after the pandemic. You, you go. Just talk about that. I just want to hear your opinion from,
Well,
your the masters.
well, I'd just like to start by saying I don't know that much about it. I mean, except for my small part of it. What I've seen in the UK, of course, is a decline, a massive decline, I would say, in the club circuit, and the venues have suffered. I say the venues have suffered probably more than the musicians as individuals. It's really tragic what's happened, and I put that down to a lack of arts funding in the UK compared to the rest of Europe. It's a real shame. It's. I mean, I don't really play there anymore. I haven't lived there in years, but of course I keep I've got a lot of friends there, so I watch it. But yeah, I hope it can bounce back. But that's all I can say about it. Really, post pandemic, I think I think places like the Netherlands, where I play regularly, in France and Germany they had great cultural fundings, from what I could tell. So
Yeah,
I don't know about Italy. I'm sure you know better than me, but
not a good place.
I think they're recovering quicker.
But what is it? What is it you think? Is it like a lack of interest from the audiences? Is it a lack of interest of people organizing events? Because like, I mean, there are artists. There's a lot of young, very good artists
Yeah,
flourishing in almost every city now. Like we have the chance nowadays to be able to look to see all of this talent through like platforms like this one, like people find their stages online and then on Instagram and all
yeah.
this kind of stuff. So there is talent happening. But what is it that doesn't bring these talents on stages, on venues?
I mean, it's complex, I think, and I'm certainly no expert, but um, yeah, I think people are more nervous to go out now. I think people cherry pick which shows they go to. They don't go out 2 or 3 times a week like we used to when I said
Okay.
stuff. You know, you could play
What about
you
you,
could play a
Jake? Do you feel
circuit.
that the
Yeah,
same?
please,
Like
Jake.
in venues you play in London, so
Well, Ian's right. It's people are more conscious about spendings, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's been a soft preparation for, or soft or hard, whatever you want to call it, but into what's happening right now. I've noticed a dramatic increase in living expenses from January. Just suddenly, it just went. I thought, oh, this it? And in December, it wasn't. I just basically, I don't know if I just woke up and noticed it at that particular point, but I think if you have a choice of paying for your energy or going to a gig, you know, so that definitely has affected uh, the live music venues in this country, and I'm guessing everywhere else. And like Ian says, maybe the Arts Council here it's a bit more selective who they award money to, and it just doesn't happen. I don't know many people that are awarded those kind of grants, and if they are, it's definitely not from blues scene. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but this is from
No,
my own.
I think you're right, which takes us quite neatly to. I mean, I'm not going to start criticising current UK blues scene, but it does seem to me that you need money to be able to get anywhere.
Yeah,
Now.
yeah.
You can't just be grassroots, whatever you want to call it. You need
Yeah.
to have some sort of finances just to be able to get yourself on the stage. That's not to say that the people doing it who might be from wealthy backgrounds or at least middle class backgrounds are not good. But I am saying that people without the funding behind them, maybe rich parents or whatever, don't have any chance at all. So there seems to be kind of an imbalance in the people that are getting on stages, the ones that can afford promotion, that can afford studios, and can afford, to back themselves or have someone back them. That certainly wasn't the case when I started out. You put a band together, whatever, and you went and played a circuit and developed a fan base, or people did what you could, made a living. But it's a totally different scene. That's why I don't feel that qualified to comment on beyond what I have done. It's changed so much.
I mean, it's interesting because I mean, what Jake said, like it's people may be being more cautious about what shows they go and watch and what venues that like how often they go out and stuff. But I mean, if we think back in the days, I mean, back when blues and music was played in the so-called jukes, like in this wooden houses and like and where people were not mandatorily wealthy, people going there didn't like have a lot of money, but there was this drive and this demand of arts and stuff. Do you think it's also the growing mediatic offer that is now here nowadays, and that like younger audiences are now channeling towards to, instead of like going out and watching concerts. Like they rather be at home and watch a live event, uh,
Yeah,
see like recorded
no,
concerts
I've no,
or
yeah. I'm sure that's an entire culture that exists now. Is online events, and yeah, uh, the impetus to go out and see live acts must be disappearing.
yeah.
Even the pandemic affected. I talked to club owners post-pandemic who were struggling to sell tickets because people had gotten used to being at home and watching people like me do free shows on Facebook, and now they couldn't sell the tickets for the same price as they'd done 2 years ago because people didn't want to part with the money. So it created all kinds of problems.
And which is interesting because like people seem to be wanting more art during the pandemic itself. Like there was so much.
Because people had more time on their hands, to be more
Yeah, but they
creative.
were
Yeah,
all asking like, we want music again, we want theater again, we want to go out again and do stuff. But it feels like that people kind of got used to that mood, to the pandemic mood. They got used to these new platforms. They got used to different ways of entertainment, which is like more individual and lonesome way of enjoying entertainment in a way.
I think that was the ironic thing is people realised how much they needed the arts during the pandemic. And then once it was over, because they had so much for free, they didn't want to pay for it. It was just the most bizarre kind of dichotomy. But I remember reading a British newspaper. I'm not going to say which one. I don't know. But they just did a poll, whether that poll had actually taken place or not. Who knows? But it was like public opinion of the most useful occupations during the pandemic and the most useless. And at top, of course, was nurse or doctor, and of the most useful, and top of the most useless or the least useful was artist or musician.
Yeah.
The one we can get rid of the easiest, So there's all that kind of stuff going on. But people suddenly started to appreciate what they were missing and going up.
To pick up on that, like a question to you both. Sorry, Ian. Like to pick up on this one, like, what's your opinion on this? Like, is it less useful? Like, is being an artist, being a musician, being an actor, or whatever artist we want to pick, is it really less important than a doctor?
Well, let's put it this way, man.
Yes.
Well,
You were
I know
talking
Ian's
before about your sister, was it, the nurse, Ian? Yeah.
Yeah. For example.
Yeah, Ian's
So like,
think about it for a second. Someone clever came up with this thought, but it's totally true and very transparent. During the pandemic, what did people do during the pandemic? Read books, watch films, watch TV shows, watch music shows online, etc. All of this is art. So now remove that, scrap as if it never existed. What would you do during the pandemic? Worry about your health, maybe. You wouldn't be able to do anything about it in terms of, food for the soul or for thought. It's all of this stuff that I just listed is part of the art world. So, yeah, we are the least important. You won't die if you don't read a book, but you may be a very sad person. Imagine life.
Sorry.
Now imagine life without music. I mean, obviously we are musicians, we are, and you're an actor, Dani. But obviously for us it's not very representative because obviously this is what we do. But I think even if I couldn't play anymore, I still would have to listen to music, and I do every day. I cannot let the day go by without listening to something. And if for some reason I can't, then I won't be able to go and fall asleep. That's how bad it is.
I just want to say, I think the least useful person was the editor or journalist that decided to put that poll on the front page headlines of a newspaper that day to try and be divisive about who's the best and who's the worst. Who's the worst person in the pandemic? I mean, what an asshole.
But I mean, it brings out a pretty
Understood.
interesting question. A pretty interesting question because I mean, if I can share my opinion, I mean, I think, of course, there is an immediate need of a doctor, of a nurse, like all those more useful jobs, like when you have diseases and a virus all over the world, and of course those people are really useful. But now, for example, I'm in the show for can you still hear me? Because I feel like I think
No,
You're
we've
breaking
kind of
out a
gone
little
weird.
bit.
oh, yeah?
A little bit. Enzo, I hear you.
Okay, Danny seems to have
A little
some
bit.
connection issues at the moment. Uh, you're back. You're back.
Hello.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah,
He's
we
back.
can hear you now. Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. No, I was saying, of course, there are like those jobs that can be considered useful in the immediate time, like in an imminent situation, like of course a virus, a deadly virus. But I'm doing now the Tina Turner show, which is a show about Tina Turner.
Someone doesn't want him to talk about that.
Yeah, sounds like talking about mind control
He's
and
been
all
silenced. He's been
Yeah,
silenced.
that.
It was Ike.
yeah.
Either.
Is I
That's
not
the
around anymore, is he?
that's
No,
the
well,
good thing
but,
about
I
life.
mean, maybe he still has some influence over the internet.
Do you guys have
Maybe.
any experience working in a theater doing a musical at all?
Did you, Jake?
When I was in my teens, back in my hometown, back in Poland, w- with the band, we used to rehearse in this municipal hall, cultural center. We'd get access there um, as part of the sort of cultural enrichment sort of programs, and in return we would have to play a bunch of free shows every year. We were like 16, 15, 16, 17 years old. And there was one time we were matched with this theater group, some amateur sort of theater thing, and we're asked to write music for some show,
Oh
and we
wow,
spent about
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Listen, mate, I've got all the little booklets and all of that stuff we were given. This is back in '87, maybe. Basically, we spent about 2 months rehearsing. We came up with some ideas. Then we had some four-piece little chorus, girls' chorus, and then it just went nowhere. We had a few rehearsals, and then that was the end of it. I don't know if the funding finished or whatever, but that was my only experience to do it and anything to do with the musical or doing music for the theater. That's it.
Well,
What
that's
about you, Ian?
amazing. It's a thing I didn't know about you, and I've known you for, blimey, over 10 years now. Oh, amazing.
Sounds like an eternity, bro.
Oh, bloody hell. Well, even Ian, I
I've known you a
met you
little
for the
longer than that.
first time at the Alley Cat. Do you guys remember the Alley Cat in Dermo Street?
Of course.
A shithole, but technically amazing. Such a
Yeah,
good
exactly.
time. I
Like all the best
remember
clubs.
when I was very young, I must have been 19, 18, the first few years I was in London, I I used to hear, oh, Ian Siegal and Matt Scofield are going to be at the Alley Cat tonight. We should go, we should go. Oh, we should just go and, watch you guys playing. Then, Jake and Artie took over, and then that's when I got to meet Artie and Jake. I mean, Artie is an exception. Is an animal. It's just doesn't make any freaking sense. He plays whatever he wants fluently. But you Jake, you have your own kind of rough language on the guitar there. I freaking loved it because you mix a bit of blues, a bit of jazz, for example, and but you make it bluesy. Doesn't matter what, and that's it's the roots. And the first time I heard Ian Siegel was at the actual Alley Cat, and I didn't even know who he was. But then as as people started telling me,
Why
Ian
would you?
Siegel. And then it's just amazing. And then and ended up playing together at some points. It was just It was great. It was great. I had very good years to London, but you know, things are changing. Things are definitely changing. Danny, you're
Oh, that's a
back.
I'm here.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I lost a bit of the conversation
That's a good point you
because
made,
because
uh, Enzo.
Yeah.
That's a good point you brought up there. It seemed to be that there used to be more of a scene back when Ian was still living in London.
Oh,
I think
absolutely. Absolutely. It's Yin,
this is
you actually killed London music scene when you left. You
yeah,
killed it
it's your
because you were the
oh, might be an immediate relation. Yeah.
scary famous bluesman going around the jams, and you know people will be freaking worried about talking to you, you know, and you know that
That's
was
not true.
that was that figure, but it was an amazing. There was an amazing figure. I used to love it, and I said, "Fuck, that's Ian, man, that's Ian, that's
no,
Ian."
so you see what I meant was when do you know what this we may be completely wrong. It may still exist. It's just that we don't go to those gigs anymore.
Which one are
Who
you
knows? I mean,
referring to?
I'm talking about there is the scene around the blues bar. That
Yeah,
seemed to be the only thing that comes to mind. We used to have Alicat. Before that, we used to have the Weavers, and then we would play gigs. Maybe
What
traveling up
about
and down the
Charlotte
country.
Street Blues?
Yeah,
yeah,
that
that's
was
another
very
one.
short. Very, very, very nice venue, but that was very short-lived, wasn't it?
We should also mention Sam Herring to this. I mean, he was
Of course.
a massive part of the London underground music scene, and he was the one who
Very
kicked off
instrumental in
the
that.
blues jams, pretty much.
Yeah,
You,
he was the
Ian,
Jam King, wasn't it?
yeah,
You know,
Ian,
it's
you used
funny,
to run the
Jake
Jam at the Blues
mentions
Bar, right?
I did run the Jam the Blues Bar for about 10 years, I believe.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, there we
And,
go, there we go. You guys started it
but
off.
it's interesting, Jake. You talk about scene shifting, or that it died when I left. It actually died when I arrived because
Oh,
the Weavers Jam, which Jake mentioned, was the first jam session I ever went to. When I went
That's
there,
when that's when we met. Yeah.
that's where we met. And
where was
there's
that?
people like Lee Sankey and
Ah, Lee, another
yeah,
one, great friend of ours.
Earl Green and various others, And the first night I went down there was Magic Slim and John Primer, who were just in London for the night
Yeah.
and came down to the Weavers to jam. And back then you'd have James Hunter playing Ain't Nothing But,
I mean, look at
So
that.
that was a thriving blues scene back then. And after I moved there, that kind of disappeared and all went downhill or changed or something. So there's always ups and downs in the blues scene every few years. So
Mm.
I remember
that was that was the
jamming
end of
with.
one era for sure.
I remember jamming with you on stage, Ian, at the Blues Bar with Greg Slap on the harmonica.
Oh yeah,
That was ages ago. I was a kid. I was a kid.
yeah.
I remember asking you, "Hey, what key?" You looked at me and say, "G."
The biggest key of G. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
But like you're all traveling quite a lot. You think is there like a country where you think the scene is moving towards too? Like, because I mean we know where everything started. It was the States. Then it spread all over the world. London has some good years. Is there, according to you, a country that is more welcoming to certain kinds of scenes?
probably Holland, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I was going to immediately say Netherlands. I think that's always
For the Netherlands,
pretty steady, pretty solid. Holland and Belgium. There's such and a lot of Scandinavia too. There's just
Yeah.
such a consistently high standard of music. I mean, I can only really talk about blues and blues scene myself, but there's just one country, I guess, but there's a consistently high standard of musicians, which I don't think is as consistent in the UK. You get bright sparks and stuff, but this is the standard across the board. Rhythm sections, everything, all instruments. It's a much healthier scene, I think, and the clubs too.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the best venue I probably played in Netherlands was Tivoli. The Tivoli.
Tivoli Vredenburg in Utrecht. Yes, I'm playing there myself in April, just to give a little plug.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was playing with Giles Robson, and we were opening for what's his name, Johnny Lang, and it's such a good venue. It's really well thought. It's almost like a
That's
labyrinth.
incredible.
We felt like in the movie of Spinal Tap, right before
Totally.
going on stage, you just get
Yeah,
lost.
I always get lost in there. Really.
There we go. So I'm not the only
Yeah.
one.
Well, last time I was there, I played their festival, Rambling Roots, but the time before that, I was opening for Robert Cray there, and I almost didn't make it to the stage
Oh
because I
my
got
God.
lost. So it was a total tap moment.
Yeah, because you get corridors, so it's multiple floors. Then you have corridors in
Yes.
between, and you got lifts, elevators on the left and on the right.
And you need a little electronic tag to get through each.
And I still
security
have
door.
that card. I kept it. I kept it. It's somewhere in the storage, but I still have that card. I didn't steal it, just kept it.
No.
You just
Yeah.
give it back.
And then there was another venue there, I can't remember, maybe it was in Hangelo, a big venue where we opened.
Or Metropole.
Probably.
Metropole,
We
Hangelo.
were sharing,
Yeah.
still with Giles Robson, we were sharing pretty much the backstage with Tower of Power. Now, I'm a huge fan
Oh,
of
wow.
Rocco. And so when we go there with our small van, the blues van, with all the gear, we arrived there and there was this double deck bus, massive, I said, oh wow, this band must be, rich, for a freaking bus like that. So, by the time we got backstage, we see the next to our name, there was Tower of Power. And at the time, I'm like, nah, it can't be. It just can't be, you're freaking Tower of Power, are you kidding me? So I was there with Jason Ribeiro, was in drum. Hi, Jason. And remember we were singing in the backstage, which again, in Holland they treat you really well, so you find a lot of fruits, food, everything. It was just they treat you like a king. So we see Garibaldi, the drummer, just passing by, and Jason looks at me and say, "What the hell was that?" Then we realized that it was actually Tower of Power for real, and it was pretty amazing. I stole a drumstick pair from him. I have to say, if he's watching, so probably he's not watching, but yeah, I go your drumstick, Garibaldi. Rocco wasn't there. He was in hospital. He died maybe a couple of years later. When he passed away 2 years ago during COVID. So unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him, but it was pretty wild to experience Tower of Power from the stage, from amazing stories, But again, as you were saying before, the Netherlands is such a good spot for live music. It's just never ends. It's just good and good and good. Danny, what were you talking about before you crashed?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just moved to Stuttgart, so I'm waiting for my internet to be delivered. I'm now
It's
just
okay.
like switching my SIM cards. I have like an Austrian SIM card, a German one, an Italian one.
But
I'm
tell
trying
us,
which
you
one works
recently
better.
signed a contract with a pretty big agency, if it's the
I mean,
name.
I'm working with Tina the musical, and talking of Holland, I'm working with a lot of Dutch people, and I was having this conversation just a few days ago, one of my colleagues, and there are a lot of Dutchies coming to Germany and working in the musical theater scene, and I realized I'm observing, even though they're very, very, very young, some of them are really young, they just graduated academy and everything, they all have like a very professional attitude towards the arts, which is
I
something
think that is
that's
because of the academies, the Dutch academies. are
the
very
academies,
nice.
right? Because like the education there is crazy. Because we have very good schools in Italy as well. We lack in jobs after the schools and after the academies. But like we have a good preparation, but we don't have that very good professional preparation. We have a good arts preparation, but like we're not prepared to work in the industry. And I see that like with
think-
very young artists as well. Like they have a very adult and mature approach to
Yeah.
to to the work they have to do, they're going on to do. Like, do you, so you agree, Ian?
Certainly, all my Dutch band and all the younger Dutch musicians I know, because I lived there for 7 years as well, they were all academy graduates. So they came in with a very professional attitude. Yeah. So that seems to be part of the teaching, isn't just learning your instrument, but learning the industry and stuff. So yeah, total pros. It's an interesting thing. I wonder how many of the UK roots scene have that kind of background. You know? I certainly don't. I don't know how many have an actual musical education. So it's that probably has a lot to do with it. And yet, you know, despite that formal background, all the ones I know are rootsy players and can seriously play blues, you know, to the standard that American visiting artists are really blown away by that. And then, having said
your
that
studies,
makes
Ian and Jake? What were your studies?
Well, I did,
zero.
Where did you learn? Yeah, exactly. Where did you learn? Where
I
did you
learned
learn?
with
What
these
was
two
your skill?
guys. I learned, hang on, with
In the
these
pubs.
two guys. Exactly.
In the
I learned
pubs.
watching these two guys up here on top.
well, yeah,
I learned in the
I did
pubs.
go to I did go to music school when I was in my late teens. Sadly, I learned some classical guitar there. I learned some skills of reading and writing, which opened my shutters quite wide. I totally did tag that. But then I was kicked out of that school because with my band at the time, I must have been 18 or something. We were on the road for a couple of weeks. Back then, schools weren't very keen on supporting that kind of thing, especially outside of of the curriculum sort of thing. So I was kicked out of this just before my final diploma there, and then I did a few years of music college here, and where I studied sound engineering. So, which is my kind of, you could call it a day job, I guess. But I haven't done it. I think 6 or 7 years ago, I decided, oh, let's go music full time. That paid off.
You know what? I
Yeah.
just want
So
to just throw this in because it just made me think. You were saying about where is the music thriving these days, and I should have mentioned Brazil, particularly for blues.
Oh,
because
you were
blues,
very good point.
it's very hip over there. I've done a few festivals, and the musicians, the local musicians over there, play like they're as if they're from that culture. Could be the African influence. Who knows exactly what it is? Or they just study it really hard. But there's a band over there, for example, called the Headcutters, who sound like a Chicago blues band from the 50s. And they back up all the visiting US artists who are just blown away by them. It's not just them, but there's lots of them. And, there's young people go to the festivals and they dance to the blues. So I think it's not just Brazil as well. I think Argentina is very
yeah.
developing or developed scene over there. So, I thought it was important to mention that. It's very hip in Brazil.
There's a huge Brazilian scene in Vienna where I used to live before I moved to Stuttgart now, and I can just confirm what you say. And it's also they bring a lot of freshness in everything they do. Like they're very experimental in lots of way, and it's sometimes it works amazingly, sometimes it doesn't. But like they're hungry of new stuff. Like I've been playing with some Brazilian musicians in Vienna, and it's just a journey. Like every time you go on stage with them, it's just like a journey, and they bring new sonorities. They kind of merge their tradition, the jazz bossa nova tradition into other genres. Synthesizers are coming in. It's really interesting. So I can confirm what you're saying.
Yeah, very inspiring.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
Yeah.
And
What about audiences? Like you've been
again,
traveling
Brazil,
a lot. Well, again,
I
Brazil.
was blown away. Brazil, there were like 10,000 people at the festival, most of them under 30, all dancing to mostly traditional, what I would call traditional blues. of course, there was the rock blues guys there.
Is this recent?
Pretty recent, yeah. That was, I think I was there in 2016, 17, 18, and 19, something like that. Anyway, but it was fantastic. And just to see, because we used to, in Europe, there's an age demographic, usually for blues. Certainly in Holland, Belgium, UK, etc. I mean, I find Eastern Europe you tend to get a younger crowd, or at least a more mixed crowd, a broader demographic of ages.
You're right. I seem to remember we had a really enthusiastic crowds in Norway. There's a little jazz club right in the center of Oslo. I can't remember the name of it, but that was one of my favorite crowds then, and they were, full on, quite sort of, it kind of, you get the feedback and it makes you play even better and that kind of stuff. So, but then again, coming from Poland,
the least responsive audience.
The least responsive.
Least. Oh wow.
I will withhold that information.
Not appreciating, but like responsive. Because I mean, I've been playing in.
I think about one, but I don't want to say.
Austria. What?
I can think of one, but I don't want to say. Continue.
Well, actually,
no, but it's not always about appreciating the music. I played in pubs where like people in Austria, for example, where people were like very composite, just like listening to the songs. No, like very, very brief applauses and everything, and then like after the shows, they would come up to you. It was like, "Oh my God, it was so amazing! It was so good." Well, it was just like there's something about the freedom, like the freedom to live a concert. Like to leave the chair and stand up and live that experience with their bodies. Like there's certain audiences that just like prefer to sit and listen.
There's a very weird thing with the Dutch audiences can be quite chatty, and they know it. They refer to it as the Dutch disease. They like to talk, but they're often talking about how much they're enjoying the show. Right? But you go across the border into Germany, or indeed continue down to Austria, where I'm touring soon actually. And looking forward to it, but the audiences are very silent, and you start to wonder if they're even enjoying. And then you find out.
But they are.
It's
so
so
silent. That's
silent.
the cool thing about it.
They absolutely are. They're completely engrossed. They're very, very respectful. They would never talk through a show. It's just a different way.
Yeah.
The Dutch have their way of doing it.
Do you know what? It's not uncommon to have a really quiet gig, be it a solo duo or even a band gig, where for some weird reason it's like silent, and then you realize, and maybe they're not very responsible, maybe they are in a bit of a subdued, shy way, and then after the show you get this whole, everyone wants to congratulate you and say how much they enjoyed it, which I guess people take it their own way. Some people are a bit shy to show their emotions, I guess that, and some people are overly excited to tell you how much they're enjoying right at this very point. So I guess it's a mixture. Of course, I think we all love the instant response, which makes you realize that they are enjoying. Lets you know that they are enjoying it, rather than you're pouring your heart out, giving it all, and you don't really know until after the gig or something. That's my experiences that come to mind right now, and especially in small venues where you are pretty exposed. There's nowhere to hide, etc., etc. So, and if you make a
silence is not a bad thing. Like I mean, Ian was talking about the chattering of the Dutch concerts. And that can be fun, but where I grew up in Sicily, and that's a bit of a pity. That's the reason I think why Enzo and I are not there anymore. I think the musical scene became a lot of a
It used to be
background
great.
thing, you know.
I have to
It
say,
used to be very good, but yeah, but then like it ended up like there was like a certain a
BB
sudden
King played in Catania.
death of interest into why the musicians are playing what they're playing and what is it they're playing. So it was more like
Ah,
background noise. And you used to like to play in scenes where really like you couldn't even hear yourself because the people were like talking about the previous football match a few days ago, and
Back in
it
the
was
day,
not.
Sicily
They came to the
specifically was
concert. They came to the
great.
concert, but not to watch the music, not to listen to the music. We're
Yeah,
just there
to
to
hang
be
out.
there and meet people, you know, which is
Yeah,
hard. It's
yeah.
even
well,
harder, you know, like it's an active, live audience, but it's not the kind of audience you would want to have.
you know,
Like
many
that
venues
thousand
are exactly.
times better, the silent one.
You know, there's many clubs. More and more, I find that this is exactly the purpose they serve. The artist. It doesn't really matter who's playing. It's it's just a background noise, like you said.
Yeah.
So do you have it in London as well?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Many clubs have been struggling. Some of them closed. There are some venues that still somehow pay the fees, but it's not so much if somebody's coming out to see you. You just you can expect anything. I've been to some of those gigs, and it's horrible because you can't hear you can't hear the band play over people who don't really care. They're just there for a beer or catch up, and it's kind of like,
That's it's very
do you
true
know
in
what
the
I mean?
States.
As well,
All
okay,
across the
it's
US, the clubs are like that.
the music had become a bit of elevator entertainment. You get into the lift and you have a little bit of music, so nobody cares really what that is. So I think both me and Ian can say back in the day that when we were starting off or when we were kids, we probably just took it for granted, right? I mean, who would have thought that? I always thought, oh, one day music is only getting better, right? All of that scene, but I think the 70s and 80s spent enough money. That's what I mean by spend is wasted, and it went into some places who knows where. And then the corporate suits came down and decided, well, never mind paying artists all these. We're just gonna cash in on someone else's work, and that's when it all started changing. And I kind of, in a way, I feel a bit sorry for the young generations now because they never gonna experience that.
Wow.
Yeah, but but what are the choices, man? We can sit here and moan for the rest of the night, or grab a guitar and do the best we can with what we've got. And who knows what's gonna come tomorrow.
What else? What else do you just? I mean, you play a lot of blues. Is there any genres that you like to listen out of that?
Ian?
Both of you?
I listen to everything. I mean, I
I mean, we're talking
yeah.
about
I
Rihanna
mean,
before, like the halftime concert yesterday.
oh
Is
yeah.
it something you would listen?
Well, I went to see it because my wife is American. She's in the background sweeping. I'm going to try.
Yeah, we
It
see
just
that.
looks bad.
Another special
no,
guest.
I went to watch the Super Bowl, which normally I would never do. My wife's American; she loves American football, and we happen to have there's a few people from North America here at the moment, so we all went to watch it. And for the first time, it was explained to me in such a way that I actually understood the damn game. Because normally I have no idea
I
what's going
still
on.
do not.
Background noise.
No,
But
but honestly,
did you go this year?
my
This year or?
yeah, last night, yeah.
Oh, last night you were
And
there.
my
Okay,
mind,
cool.
no, I mean I was watching it on a TV in a bar, but
Oh, okay.
it blew my mind. I was like, oh no, I get it now, and it's a fantastic sport. But anyway,
Yeah, it's pretty
for,
fun. It's pretty
for,
fun.
for at least half the people in this bar, the point of being there was to watch Rihanna's halftime show, which I thought was fantastic. But I predicted at the time that there would be a huge backlash against everyone, basically everyone over the age of 50 would be, well, that would include me. So
I mean, a lot of
But
people were
everyone over the age of
complaining that it was too austere, like there wasn't enough happening because like
all then there
people are
was
used to like
say
to fireworks and huge puppets and whatever, you know. And it was like
quite
very
a
simple.
simple.
Like she was just there and
I
singing.
suppose, but the band and all the dancers were floating down on what seemed to be, like little spaceship things, like in Superman.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
cool
I thought it was
production.
very,
I mean, simple,
I thought it
but
was
very
fantastic.
effective.
It
Yeah.
was minimalistic. I'm not a fan of Rihanna at all, but I thought she did a great performance. Plus, she was pregnant, or is pregnant. The dancers were excellent, but you can't please everybody. So, but there was bound to be, they talk about it's too sexual, or it's ridiculous. I thought it was an excellent show. And speaking as a non-Rihanna fan, but you can't win with that. I think, unless it's Prince, of course, who I think was one of the few people that everyone just absolutely loved when he performed. But yeah, there's always been a bit of criticism. Yeah,
Have you seen it,
I loved it.
Jake?
Unfortunately, I missed it. I had no idea. I think the last few days or a couple of weeks, I've kind of managed to stay clear of the current affairs. But when it comes to, if we're talking about Rihanna, I am a big fan of especially watching Rihanna on TV, that is. Sometimes me and my wife, we binge for an evening and watch, for example, maybe a bunch of clips of Rihanna and have a good laugh about it. The music is great. She's good dancer. She's good looking, etc., etc. Another day we would do the same thing with Beyonce, and the list goes on.
Beyonce's
But
great.
the truth is, man. Every morning I get up, and the first thing I do, literally before my eyes even are fully open, before the brain warms up, it's like an involuntary muscle memory thing. I come up to my turntable, put a record on, and that's it, and the day is started. And I tend to recently, I mean, last, I don't know, 10 years maybe, I tend to oscillate around records that are quite old but very, very diverse. If you put a gun to my head and said, pick one genre of music to take with you on a desert island and you will never hear anything else, I would pick something loungy from the 50s, man. And if I have to give you a name, George Shearing and his quintet. This is this blind British pianist that went to America in his late teens and became a superstar, kind of like one of as big as you can imagine. And his music, it was kind of jazz, but not really. It was very light jazz, but with vibraphone, guitar, double bass, piano, and drums. Wonderful, beautiful, sublime arrangements, very easy to listen to, but also you can engage. So I tend to listen at my old age to those kind of things, which is absolutely not.
I just want to say, if anyone watching has any questions for Ian or Jake or me or Danny, feel free to write in the chat and I can read them out. Anyhow, I'm really enjoying this. I mean, I love just chatting about music.
Me too. Although I have to say that I'm missing the Liverpool Everton game.
You did mention that. You did mention that.
And I do want to catch the second half, so I've got to go in 5 minutes.
And that's a sport,
That's
and that's a
okay,
sport
that's
of which you know all the rules.
Yes, I do actually understand that one.
I just wanted to say that, Ian, it's extremely good to see you, man, because it's been a few months since you've been here, right?
Just to close on a positive way, because like we've been a bit down dragging with all this talking about pubs and the scene and everything. Is there
Bloody moaning
like
musicians.
some advice you wanna give to young musicians, people approaching the musical scene, and
don't do it.
light at the end of this tunnel?
Yeah,
No,
quit
don't
while
do
you.
it. Get a real job.
Great.
Go to school.
No. On
I'm a
the
plumber.
serious note, really nice to meet you, Danny, as well. And I hope it goes well with Tina. I think he froze. Oh no, he didn't freeze.
No, I'm just.
No.
Don't
Just
say
listening.
Tina. Don't
Sometimes
say
I
Tina.
wonder myself. I have to move a hand or something because I don't really,
Just don't say
Yeah.
Tina.
That's a good one, Ian. Nice one. Enzo. Oh no, Ian actually froze. No, he's moving.
No, he
He's
didn't.
moving.
No, that's one.
Am I the only one with good connection here? Enzo, thanks for
Probably,
having
yes.
us, man.
That's okay.
was-
We're gonna do this again sometime soon, and
I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be fun. As far as the advice, I have one and only thing. If you love it, do it. If you know the life's too short to do something that you don't love, and yeah, it's probably difficult for plumbers as well. I mean, soon we're probably gonna have all the pipes replaced with invisible pipes, and the plumbers will be out of jobs as well. I mean, everything is iCloud now, isn't it? We're gonna have plumbing on the iCloud. So, yeah, if you love
it-
Shit on the iPad.
If you love it, do it, and then cry about it all night long, like we do.
all right. Before we go, real quick, Ian, when are your next shows? Upcoming shows, big ones around the world.
I'm doing about a 5-week tour of 6 countries from the end of March to the beginning of May. So that I'll be in Netherlands, Denmark.
Are you coming
Norway.
to Germany?
I'm going to Austria. I'll be playing with Sir Oliver Marley in Austria. Good friend
When?
of mine from near Graz, from Leibniz. And that'll be the end of April. We're certainly doing the
check it out.
Porgy
I'm not far.
and Bess. We're doing the Porgy and Bess in Vienna.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Oh,
nice,
nice.
nice. I've been there several times. It's a nice act.
Yes, it's great.
I
great
saw
club.
Dominic
Many years
Miller
since I've
the
been
last
there.
show there. It's pretty cool.
I'm playing Hungary as well, Belgium. So yeah, it's going to be great. A mixture
Awesome.
of solo and
If people are around those
and
countries,
dance.
go and see Ian because obviously you
Please.
don't want to miss that. Jake,
No.
you're in
will.
London. We're based in London. People can catch you pretty much anywhere in London because
Yes,
most of it's South
I would-
London, I suppose.
I would unashamedly advise everyone to follow me. Literally,
yes,
uh,
I agree.
grab
Just
an
follow him down the
umbrella.
street.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. There's a simple reason for it, because I unashamedly list all of my shows at the beginning of each month. All of my local shows in London.
Awesome.
I don't have any immediate plans of traveling anywhere right now.
Okay, well, thank you both of you so much to be part of the first episode. Hopefully, these will
My
grow
pleasure.
bigger and bigger. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it again.
It was fun.
I'd love to. Absolutely great.
Enjoy your match, Jake. Enjoy your evening,
you.
and have a good one. Okay. Bye now.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Good to
Nice
see
to
you
see
guys.
you all.
Take
All
care.
right. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Dani. So
Hey, man.
that was a very good start from for our channel. Hopefully these will
It was
grow
pretty
back.
fun.
If you like this video, please put a like, follow us, spread the word. We're gonna we just want to do these more often, and we're gonna try and do it as often as possible. Most likely it's gonna be on Monday evenings, same as today. And if you want to be part of it, send us an email. If you're a musician, you want to have a chat with us. We're always open to meet new people. Also, hopefully we can invite some people from your circle of friends from the theatrical, if it's a word.
Yeah, we would like to expand this to different scenes of arts and stuff. So there will be other people, directors, actors, musician, poets and stuff. We will try to get them all on board.
Okay, what's your Instagram account, Dani, so people can follow you?
My Instagram account is _Dani_Spampinato, which is my surname. You can find it probably in the description of the video.
Most likely we're gonna add that for sure. You can find me
let's
on
add
the
that.
description for sure. And said that, thank you for watching, and probably we'll catch you soon. Have a good evening, and we'll leave you with Dani and one of his songs.
Let's do some Italian songs. I sono pazzi, e voglio essere chi voglio, uscito fuori da casa mia. I sono pazzi, c'ho il popolo che mi aspetta, e scusate vado di fretta, non mi date sempre ragione, io lo so che sono un errore, nella vita voglio vivere almeno un giorno d'errore, e lo Stato questa volta non mi deve condannare, perché sono pazzi, yeah. Io sono pazzi now, e oggi voglio ballare. Io sono pazzi, si sento sta nervatura, metto tutto in faccia muri, sono pazzi, e chi dice che mi sa niente, poi nero non sia più bello, io non sono meno matto, sono pure diplomato, e la faccia nera l'ho vita per essere notato, ma Sagnolo è cresciuto, ma Sagnolo è tornato, io sono pazzi, io sono pazzi now, non ci scassare cazzo.
Have a good night.
Bye everyone. Good night.